very special day. And the reason why it's so special is because we're talking about our place. Not my place, not your place, but our place. Everyone here owns this place. You own it in your heart, you own it in your mind, and you own it in your spirit. It all belongs to you and to me. All of it. I want to thank Werner Sumner for his wonderful historical, chronological information and history that he has prepared today. I am not a historian. I love history. I read about it, but I'm not a historian. He compiled something today that is absolutely awesome, and I hope at some point that you will read the entire thing. I'm not going to go through every single thing on here because it takes too much time, but I'm going to tell you the highlights as best as I possibly can. This Center for Spiritual Living was originally in 1956, and Church of Religious Science, as we know it, as it was called back then, was originally a cable company. Yeah. There was a man by the name of Joe Freeman, and he was a local surveyor, and he knew a lot of people in the community. He was very community oriented, and he wanted to open up a cable system, but he really didn't know where to begin or what to do. So he spoke with a woman by the name of Joan Wilson, and the two of them got together with a man named Neil Crone, and this center became a cable station. And it operated as a cable station for many years. As a matter of fact, at one point they had 1,000 subscribers. That's a lot of people. One of the things that people used to make jokes about was that they would see one of Neil Grimm's employees, or maybe one of his sons, or maybe him himself, on a pole putting up another wire. He was very active in the community, and he wanted this cable station to be something special. After all, Los Angeles had a cable station. Why shouldn't Yucca Valley, right? Excuse me, 1 second. Sorry about that. I'm not sick. So, just a block away from here, the three of them got together. I think it's that way. And they talked about this cable station, and they put it together, and it operated really, really well for many years. They made a lot of money. They did things very well. You can see this building is very lovely. And during the Cuban Missile Crisis, they realized that they needed to have a bunker just in case they started to bomb us over here. They didn't, but that bunker stands today. And if you ever want to go in and take a look at it, we're in the process of fixing it up. Our wonderful Deborah Hale is working on that with us. And hopefully at some point we'll be able to have some of the public to go in and see what a real bunker looks like. As the population started to grow and the area started to grow, more and more people were coming to this community, and they wanted to have a spiritual center, someplace to go. And there was a man by the name of William Spalding, born in 1899. After being trained in Gettysburg under Dwight D. Eisenhower, who was the supreme commander of all Allied forces in World War II and our later President of the United States of America. He served in France under General George Patton in 1917, and it was the war to end all wars. This gentleman came from Los Angeles and started this center here. This gentleman did. He met his wife, Mary Spalding, in Chicago in 1917, and they were eventually married in Hollywood in 1921, in 1921. Much time went past. After World War II, Los Angeles began to grow, and Mr. and Mrs. Spalding became practitioners for the Church of Religious Science in Inglewood, California. And that was in 1951. That gives me a little chills.
Yeah.
If you want to see their picture, there are pictures available. There's a magazine, a little booklet that our lovely Werner is putting together, so those pictures will be available to you if you want to see them. His wife became the actual director of the healing ministry, just like we have members of our healing ministry today. Doria, Ann, myself, Danielle, Kamakia, just like we do today. And if I left anybody out, forgive me. I didn't mean to. Oh, we have our wonderful Denise Myers as well. Yes. We have healing ministry today, just like they did back then. And they kept it up really, really well. They truly, truly believed in the spiritual mind treatments. Of all the things that I am so adamant about is spiritual mind treatments. If you guys know me well enough now to know, you know that if I pray for you, watch out. Mr. Spalding was very bright, and he worked at LA Times for, I believe, about 30 years. And then when he retired, they wanted to retire someplace where they could enjoy their later years, and they came up here in about November of 1963. 64. And they found a study group, and the study group was headed by Claude and Mabel Dotson. Again, those pictures are available if you wanted to go look at them. This was all founded on our lovely Ernest Holmes. Now, I'm not going to talk about Ernest Holmes right now. I'm going to talk about the history of this. But just so you know, they set this up by following the science of my way of living. I'm going to repeat that. They set this up by following the science of my way of living. When the Dotsons moved to Yucca, the group continued. And in February of 1966, 12 people attending the first meeting in the home of the Spaldings at 7515 Bannock Trail, which is just 1 block from the present location of our center on the opposite side of the corner, and they had regular meetings on a regular basis. They had regular meetings on a regular basis, just like we do. They grew to 22 people, and Mr. Spalding recognized that they needed a bigger place. So they started looking for a house where they could have their meetings on a regular basis. They tried using various other methods, and they didn't work out. Some of the places that they tried to use was one of the places where high desert newspapers located, and it was too noisy, and they couldn't do it there. While he was at the meetings, Mr. Spalding would play the tapes of Ernest Holmes, because he didn't feel like he was a good speaker. He was, but he didn't feel so. So he would play the tapes of Ernest Holmes, and they would sit and talk about it and discuss it, and much like we do here. He became the administrator, and his wife continued on as being the healing ministry. And the place grew and grew and grew and grew. And that's what we're doing here. We are growing. Little by little, step by step, inch by inch, we're growing. So, they were still looking for a place. And this place hadn't come available yet. So you know where they met? In the sheriff's station. How about that? 1967. Yep, you sure did. And at that time, they received a donation from a person by the name of Esther Smith for a piano. And they had to move from Hollywood to here. So you can imagine that was probably a feat in itself, you know, back then in 1967. Today it'd be really easy, but back then it was very difficult to move things around easily. Sometime in the late 1960s, Ding Li Mei, the preceptor of light and founder of the Institute and City of Mental Physics in Joshua Tree, contacted the Church of Religious Science after he was invited to participate in their Sunday service, stating that the Church of Religious Science in Yucca Valley was the only church to ever invite him anywhere.
Wow.
How about that? I hope at some point, if you don't know who Ding Mei is, I hope you will look him up because he's an interesting man. And he did a lot of wonderful things for this community. Wonderful things. On August 6, 1971, the Spaltings, Mary and William, celebrated their 50th anniversary. In 1972, the Board of Trustees started getting in touch with LA main office asking to be an official chapter of the Church of Religious Science. The agreement and affiliation with the Church of Religious Science in Los Angeles was signed on June 6, 1972. This document is currently framed and placed in our foyer. The original bylaws were started in 1972. The Orders of a Nonprofit Corporation by the state of California was started in September 28, 1972. I'm not going to give you a whole lot of dates, okay? I just want you to see the progression as time went on, because it was a progression. After Mr. Spalding, Reverend Spalding, I should say, decided to retire, they needed to get a new minister, and they brought a person by the name of Ella Knox. And at first she didn't want to do it. She said no. She was apparently well known in Los Angeles. And when she came out here, this area did not want a female minister.
Oh my goodness. No.
They did not want a female minister. This was 1981, and things were beginning to change. If you all recall, back then in 1981 is when the Episcopal Church started to have female priests. Yes. By July 1985, Ella Knox was of the opinion that it was time to find a permanent home for the Church of Religious Science. A meeting was held, and $9,000 was pledged. Not long after, they raised $30,000, which today, by the way, is $83,000. That was a lot of money back then. The House of the Grooms, used as their home and cable station, originally here on 7434 Bannock Trail, was listed for sale for $100,000 when we purchased it at that time. And it has been our home ever since. This is our home. And we are very proud of our home. Very proud. On January 27, 1986, the Church of Religious Science, as it was known then, held their first service in the final home at 7434 Bannock Trail. The dedication was on March 29th, and Ellen Knox became the acting minister from 1980 to 1988. And following that, 2 other ladies were also ministers here. In 1997, Ron Scott, a former Vietnam War captain and later a world champion in weightlifting, followed Millie Bradley, and he became minister on 10/19/1997, and he served until 2017 when he retired. He was here for 20 years. The adjacent lot to the south of the center was officially purchased in 2002 with the idea of expanding at some point. And we still have that idea. It hasn't gone away. We're going to expand. Terry Turner followed Ron Scott in 2017. And at that time when he took over, there was $73 in the bank account. We have since grown. When COVID hit, and oh, by the way, all finances are available to every member of this congregation at any time. All you have to do is ask, and we'd be more than happy to share what we have with you, because without you, we have nothing. When COVID hit in March of 2020, many wanted to close the center because of the epidemic. Karen Winkler, our Karen Winkler, convinced the congregation to stay, along with Judy Massey, along with Joe, along with Brad, along with Chuck, along with Frida. They said, oh no, we're not closing this place. It means too much to us. We're keeping it going. We started Zooming. That was new. I'm not the best computer person in the whole wide world. So anybody that has any technical experience, good for you. Because I can't do it. You know, I've tried. Trust me. I have tried. I will support you 1,000%. 1,000%. The COVID period was tough because we had to close. Just like many things had to close, we had to close too. And because of Zoom, we were able to keep going for a while. On 2021, we installed a new sign on Highway 62 by our wonderful parishioners that put that sign together. In 2022, we went Facebook Live. So as you can see, we have a rich history. We are not this. We are this. We're not this. We are this. If you come here on a regular basis, we promise you, with all our hearts and souls, that your life will get better and better and better and better. I promise you. Our theme here is that we are love. We are all about love. We're about loving you when you're well. We're about loving you when you're sick. We're about loving you when you don't feel good. We're about loving you when you're angry or upset. We are about love. We don't care what your background was. We don't care what church you went to. We don't care what you believe in. We don't care. What we do care about is that you get better. Thank you so much.